I've got a lot to discuss, and I've got a little bit of time to discuss it, and so I want to kind of dig right in if I might. I want to give a big shout out to all of the speakers today. You know what? They have put their lives on the line for the sacred cause of liberty, as you have, and I thank all of you for all that you've done for us, for God, for family, for country, for the protection of life, liberty, and property. Those are the things that matter most, right? But I want to tell you a little kind of an interesting story. Rolling Stone did a hit piece on me. And because of that, there are some people who, I guess, decided to abandon me. Yeah, they didn't come today because of me, I guess. But what the Rolling Stone did was literally lie about me, and they called me a racist. I'm a totally blind person. I've been blind since birth, and I don't know what race any of you are, and I don't care. If you believe in God, family, and country, you're a friend of mine, and if you don't, I hope you get some education so that you can change. We believe in repentance for everyone. But our doctor was talking about this eugenics movement and racism and stuff like that a little bit, and I kind of want to tell a little story. Do you know in Hitler's time, people like me that are totally blind, you know what would happen to me? They'd kill me. So they're going to kill people like me that I guess I'm disabled, right? But at the same time, I'm a racist? How does that all work? I just can't figure that stuff out. But I will tell you one thing, and I want the press to write this down. Are you ready? Get your pen, put it in quotes, whatever you got to do. We are all God's children. Let's please act like it. There's the quote. We are all God's children. Let's please act like it. Now, believe it or not, the CSPOA was started in 2011. I've been around the whole time. And I used to interview Richard Mack before he beat Bill Clinton at the Supreme Court, believe it or not. So I've seen the CSPOA, and I've seen Richard Mack from the beginning of really his national public career. And I'm telling you that he's for real. And I'm telling you that I love to work for him and with him because of what he stands for and what he's done. And lawsuits are expensive. It cost about $600,000 to beat Bill Clinton at the Supreme Court. Think about that. That was in 1997 money. How much is that now? We won't go into that because it'll get scary fast. But I want to tell you, I gave a speech at our first event in Las Vegas, believe it or not. And I caught a couple of clips from that speech that I want to play. And there's a reason that I want to play them because it relates to my talk completely. The talk is the Constitution protects us. And then it says, from our own best intentions. That's part of the Supreme Court case where Sheriff Mack won. But I want to pull kind of a Michael Pruk, our dear friend. He sits on our CSPOA board. He's a constitutional attorney. He ran for attorney general of his state. And he says when he gives speeches, I want to give you the end before I continue. In case something happens to be along the way, you'll at least get the end of the story. So the end of the story that I have is the Constitution protects us. Here's another quote, media. If we insist on it. The Constitution protects us if we insist on it. So I gave a speech. I've been attacked my whole career as a nationally syndicated talk show host and as the CEO of the CSPOA. I've been attacked relentlessly on topic after topic after topic. It doesn't matter what the topic is, they want to attack me, okay? So I've been married for 32 years. I have 8 kids. I had too many kids, you see, so they attack me, right? They attack me because I'm blind and I don't know what race you are. They call me a racist. They attack me because I stand with the Constitution. They say, Sam, you know, why do you guys do what you do? Aren't you a danger to society? All right, now we're going to do clip 1 and show you what kind of a danger to society I am. You ready? Here it is. This is 2012, 12 years ago, people. We had a couple of hundred law enforcement personnel in the building. It was delightful. Now, I just have a question for all of you. Speaking of the Southern Poverty Law Center, and I just want to give you sheriffs a little bit of the accuracy of their information, okay? They don't do their research, and I'm here to prove it. Do all of you feel threatened by me? All right, now just so you know, the Southern Poverty Law Center has in their documentation on their website, If you go to the state of Utah and you look up Liberty News Radio, it's a little company that I own. It's a company called Sam Bushman Incorporated. It's just me. And it's called Liberty News Radio. It's a DBA. They say we're one of the biggest hate groups in the state of Utah. So as you hear me speak today, you'll just hear the hate seethe from who I am. No, you'll get to know who we really are and make a judgment for yourselves of what we really stand for. And I'm honored for the opportunity to stand before you and share my love of liberty with you, and to thank you for your service. Thank you for your diligence. Thank you for your willingness to learn, to understand who you are and what role you play in history. Isn't it about time? Isn't it about time, ladies and gentlemen, for us to stand up and call to account the truth? How is that dangerous? How is that 12 years ago, my introduction to the world as a CSPOA leader, if you will, how is that dangerous? I literally thanked everyone there. I said, hey, we want to stand for liberty. We want to stand together. We love you. It's about God, family, country. And they're like, oh my gosh, you're evil. You're a racist. You're going to ruin the country. You're going to arm everybody to the teeth. It's crazy. By the way, they say I'm a Baptist preacher kind of guy, but I'm a Mormon. Just saying. Anyway, but so I gave my talk. It was about 10 minutes long, and I explained about the Southern Poverty Law Center and how dishonest they are. Just so you know, since then, the Southern Poverty Law Center has reported me to Congress 2 times. They went into a congressional hearing. They asked their letter about me to be submitted on the congressional record, and it says I'm the nexus of hate and anti-government in America. That's happened twice on the congressional record. So I called up my congressman and said, can you help me? And they're like, oh, we don't know what to do. I said, I want you to help me. This has got to stop. If they're going to at least put what they say on the record, can I put my, information on the record as well? Because the Southern Poverty Law Center, these thugs have had their attorney arrested for attacking a law enforcement training center in Atlanta, Georgia. He tried to say he was there for documentation purposes, but then the judge said, well, why are you dressed like the terrorists then? They didn't have an answer for that. So the Southern Poverty Law Center attorney literally got arrested and is going to trial now for literally violence on this training center for law enforcement. Well, I don't even have as much as a speeding ticket, ladies and gentlemen. 0. But yet I'm somehow the nexus of hate and Think about the word nexus. On one hand, they tell you that I'm a little talk show host and I don't matter a tinker's damn. On the other hand, they tell you that I'm the nexus of hate and anti-government in America. Which is it, people? I don't care what you say. I want the truth to stand on its own. So I'm going to play the end of my speech because it kind of wraps up my feelings on the matter. This is how violent I am. Listen up. Here's the second clip. Isn't it about time for a sheriff, the top official in his jurisdiction, to set the record straight of the proper separation of powers? To say, yeah, federal government, you do have appropriate power. You have very distinguished, distinct, enumerated powers defined by the supreme law of the land. And absolutely, we back you in your enumerated responsibilities without question. However, the founding fathers were wise and inspired by the Almighty, and there was checks and balances in that system. And I submit to you that you sheriffs are the check and balance we're looking for. You're the hope of the future. You will be backed by Americans. Members of the media such as myself on Liberty Roundtable and other places will do the talking. We will tell the tale of liberty, and we will enlist our fellow Americans to peacefully stand behind you as you use the law of the land and the checks and balances designed by an all-wise Father in heaven and by good, honest men who fought for liberty in their day to help us fight for liberty in our day. It is my prayer that you will get on your knees and find your position, that you will have a gut check and a heart check and a mind check and say, you know what? This isn't radical. Maybe strange. It was always strange, even for the Americans, even for the ragtag band in the 1700s. It's been strange forever to fight for liberty. We're a nation, a one of a kind. We're a nation with an experiment, said the founding fathers, that had never been tried before. We're not a nation under government, we're a nation under God. With checks and balances, we will have the most unique form of government ever devised by man, inspired by God on the earth, promoting the most amount of liberty to the most amount of people ever. And the history shows the experiment successful. Sheriffs, will you paint me a Birmingham? Americans, will you help me paint a Birmingham? We'll be at home with our families, worshiping our God as our Father in heaven intended. We'll be protecting liberties as our forefathers gave their lives and blood for. And just like Taco Bell, they say think outside the bun. We can do it by thinking outside the gun. Thank you. All right, so there you have it. Check this out. In 2012, I said we can restore America and do so by thinking outside the gun. Little mock joke about Taco Bell, think outside the bun. I said we can do so by thinking outside the gun. And then they basically, since then, in the last 12 years, say, you're the violent nexus of hate and anti-government in America. And I'm like, yeah, let's think outside the gun, people. What is happening in America? And the answer is they are dishonest and they are lying to you. I have zero violence of any kind in my life, okay? I've never been arrested. I don't have even a speeding ticket or a traffic ticket or anything. I'm clean. I even was a mortgage officer for a long time, an insurance licensed. And to do those kind of financial responsibilities, you have to have licensing. And to get those licenses, because it's fiduciary responsibility, you have to go get FBI background checks. They have my thumbprints, my fingerprints, my palm prints, How can they report to Congress with impunity that I am the nexus of hate and anti-government in America? And then the media comes up to me today and they say, Sam, is your organization dangerous? Are you guys anti-government? Richard Mack worked for the government as a sheriff for 20 years. When we had a problem with the government, Sheriff Mack worked within the system based on the First Amendment to get a redress of grievance, and he went all the way peacefully to the Supreme Law. He used the Supreme Law of the land to go all the way to the Supreme Court. And he won. And now we educate about the greatest 10th Amendment decision ever rendered. And you got this blind racist up here preaching God, family, and country, and they're like, you guys are dangerous and violent. I want the mainstream press, because they make these claims, let me use their words, ready? I'm going to quote you guys. Without evidence. Write it down. Without evidence, you guys claim that somehow we're violent. When has Richard Mack, Sheriff Mack, ever been violent? He's got a 20-year record of serving the people in police responsibilities, sheriff duties, etc. And he never beat anybody up. He never shot anyone. I have never, in my adult life, as a kid, I used to punch people out when they'd be unkind to me and tease me about being blind. I was, But as a grown person, I've never been violent in any way. So when you say that we're a dangerous organization, I would like to see evidence, mainstream press. How are we dangerous? Because we teach that the sheriff is the top law enforcement official in his county. Go look at the Supreme Court that calls the sheriff the Cleo. Do you know what Cleo means? Chief Law Enforcement Officer. Well, if the court calls it a chief law enforcement officer, can I? Or is that just like misinterpretation of the court? Okay? The truth is the truth, and the truth shall set us free. So while some abandon us, the Ahern Hotel stands with us. And I would like to give a huge shout out to those who work at the Ahern Hotel. Many of them don't get the credit they deserve, but God bless them all, and God bless the work they're doing. Because of them, our event, even though some have abandoned us, others stand with us, and that's why this conference continues today, because of Mr. Don Ahern, Shane, and the rest of them. Thank you, and God bless all of you. I will pray for you and with you, and I will do my very level best to make sure you remain the #1 hotel in Vegas. But I digress. The Constitution protects us is the name of my talk. How is the Constitution going to protect me when the Rolling Stone magazine hates on me and says I'm a racist? When the Southern Poverty Law Center says I'm the nexus of hate and anti-government in America, how am I going to be protected? And the answer is simple. Our greater numbers. There's 300 million of us, ladies and gentlemen. I don't know how many patriots are in that number. I'm leaving out the illegals, didn't you notice? There's 300 million of us. How many of us are patriots? Well, if we all stand together, our greater numbers, they cannot defeat us, and they know it. And that's why they're so afraid. That's why they tell lies and manipulate the truth. They say that I'm a racist, but they don't come talk to me about it, because if they did, you would get the quote, remember? We're all God's children. When are we going to act like it? When are we going to behave like that? Why aren't they quoting that in their magazines or their articles about me? Why don't they admit publicly that Richard Mack and Sam Bushman, neither of us have any violent acts to our name, period, and a paragraph? I even take off my shoes at the airport when they tell me to, right? How violent is that? Okay, so we need to remember the truth, and we need to hold them to account for the truth. So as you meet with the mainstream press today, as people do interviews, as they walk around and talk to you, I want you just to ask them where their proof is that the CSPOA is a dangerous organization. It's in all the rags. It's in all the New York Times. It's in the Rolling Stone. It's in the USA Today. Every single rag in the world is written about me. And every bit of it's negative. In fact, CNN tried to attack me back in the day when I interviewed Donald Trump Jr. on my program on Super Tuesday. And they basically tried to attack me and say this is a racist talk show. And I pushed back so hard, threatened to sue them, and they basically came back and said, well, this is a political talk show that really does their very best to promote America. God, family, and country. Well, thank you. But I had to push hard to get that done. Why? What have I done that is dangerous for the country? I ask for evidence. The first journalist or the first broadcast reporter of any kind that gives me that, I will defer my time to them. And I'll also pay them $1,000. The gauntlet is open, ladies and gentlemen, as we think outside the gun and we save the greatest country on earth. God bless all of you.